Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, it's time to talk about Gengar, innit? Well, I'm the one doing the video, and I assure you, it definitely is time to talk about Gengar. You see, there's a new Gengar coming out. I've said Gengar like 7 times already. And I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, this one's got an ability that's going to be rather useful indeed. Now, our translation here is a mixture of myself using Google Translate and the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net giving us a little bit of a hand, because Joe's a lovely man. So Gengar then, what can we say about it? Well, it's a stage 2, as Gengar tends to be, with 110 HP? That's terrible. We've just seen Rillaboom go and break the record for stage 2 HPs in the game with 190 HP. That's a whole Pokemon away from 110. Make no mistake about it, right? 110 HP on a stage 2 Pokemon in 2019, 2020 really, by the time this actually gets revealed, is utter garbage. I mean, the one from Unbroken Bonds had 130, the one from Crimson Invasion had 130, so somehow Gengar's lost HP. That's terrible. The retreat cost of 2 isn't as bad as it used to be, because we've got that new balloon card, which allows you to lower your retreat cost by 2. I've done a video, I'll pop a link in the description. I really hope I did that one before this one. Fingers crossed. And it's a ghost Pokemon, but they're the same as Psychic now in terms of weakness and resistance. Weakness to darkness is actually kind of annoying because of Hooper. Hooper does 10 damage plus 20 for each of your Pokemon with an ability, and this has an ability, and you got 110 HP, so, yeah. If you have 3 Pokemon out of abilities, then they'll do 70, double for weakness, 140. I suppose at that point 130 and 110 is all the same. Point is, Hooper's going to be a big bane to you. You do have resistance to fighting, which is awesome, but you've also lost 20 HP somehow, so that's kind of annoying. But the good news is we've got an ability here, and the ability is awesome. As often as you like, during your turn, you may move a damage counter from one of your Psychic Pokemon to another of your Psychic Pokemon. Now, this is a phenomenal ability that we've seen before, and we've seen a couple of times, and it's been really good, though this is not quite as good as we've seen it before. Now, the last time we really saw something like this seeing an awful lot of play was Reuniclus, the one from Black and White. The Reuniclus from Black and White said, as often as you like during your turn, you may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. Now, this is where we see the big difference between Gengar and stuff like this. This was any of your Pokemon, whereas Gengar is limited specifically to Psychic Pokemon. And Reuniclus got 2nd place at Worlds, and honestly, if the final wasn't timed, it probably would have won the whole thing. What you had is Pokemon like Donphan sitting in the active going, ha ha ha, you can't KO me. And then you would just move damage to any of your other Pokemon. It was played with Reshiram and Zekrom, which were both high HP basics, but also they had Outrage, which meant they could do damage depending on how many damage counters are on them. So you could move exactly 12 damage counters to Reshiram and do 140, or Zekrom. And at the time, that was a really nice amount of damage to do. And then you would use Blissey Prime, which when you evolved up, removed all damage counters from all of your Pokemon. So what you essentially would do was just move all your damage around as much as you could, and then Blissey would come in and you'd be absolutely golden. It was really fun. Really fun. The problem is, you'll notice I didn't mention any other Psychic Pokemon there. That's the big issue. Now, way back in the base set of the Pokemon trading card game, we actually had Alakazam, which had a very similar ability, by which I mean the same ability. As often as you like during your turn, you may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another, as long as you don't knock out that Pokemon. So there's another difference here. Alakazam didn't let you KO a Pokemon. Both Reuniclus and Gengar are absolutely cool with you moving damage over to KO. Very important ruling note here. You move the damage 1 at a time. So if you move, I don't know, let's say you've got a Wailord, and Wailord's got 220 HP. As soon as you move the 20-second damage counter over, Wailord is KO'd. Instantly. No arguments. Now remember, Wailord isn't a psychic Pokemon, so it's only Reuniclus that can actually do that. Boo! And that's the big problem with Gengar. Now, to go back to Alakazam quickly, there were a couple of things you had here. Originally, you had base set Chansey, which was a basic Pokemon with 120 HP, which back in the base set was beyond ridiculous. But then after a little while, we ended up with Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime joined us in the Jungle expansion, and essentially it had 40 HP, but whenever 30 or more damage would be done, you prevented it. So your opponent could not one-hit KO Mr. Mime. They could only do 10 or 20 damage, and then you could just move it off using Alakazam. So that's what we're doing here. That is absolutely 100% the goal here. And oh my goodness, there's a wonderful combo here with Wobbuffet V. This has such a good combo with Wobbuffet V. The funny thing is, Gengar was actually revealed in the official rulebook, and I was gonna do a video, but then they revealed Wobbuffet V, and it got pushed back a couple days, which is a good thing, because Wobbuffet V is one of your best options here. Wobbuffet V has a lovely attack, which swaps all the damage counters on Wobbuffet with all the damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. So what you can do here is just move 210 damage, 21 damage counters onto Wobbuffet, then use your attack to put all 21 damage onto your opponent, and you won't have to take any damage you've already got on them. But that's kind of fun, right? This makes me very, very happy indeed. Or you can use something like the existing Mr. Mime. Now, the thing is, Mr. Mime GX, they're kind of annoying, right? One blocks even attacks, one blocks odd attacks. Odd in terms of damage counters. Obviously, all the damage is even because it's all a multiple of 10. You know what I mean? So if your opponent doesn't KO, you can move the damage off. But the problem here is you've got 150 HP. Your opponent is often going to get a one-hit KO, and it's not going to work all that well. But frankly, any big bad psychic Pokemon you've got can work. Use something like Mewtwo and Mew. Now, the other really cool thing about psychic Pokemon pre-Sword and Shield is that unless they were Ghost type in the video games, they've all got a psychic weakness. So you can use Jirachi GX to turn off your psychic weakness, meaning your opponent is never hitting something like Mewtwo and Mew for weakness, so they've actually got to do 270 to get a KO, and if they don't get a KO, you can move all the damage off using Gengar. Now, you can't just move damage around forever, alright? Sooner or later you need to heal it off, and this might be one of the first times I've actually gone, you know what we need? Champions Festival. Because we do! Champions Festival is great with this. Once during each player's turn, if that player has 6 Pokemon in play, he or she may heal 10 damage from each of his or her Pokemon. How cool is that? Because now, you make sure that the damage is spread around all 6 of your Pokemon, assuming an entirely psychic deck, and then you get to heal 60 damage right away. And what's really cool, you do it during your turn, so you can literally move the damage, heal one from all of your Pokemon, and then move it wherever else you might want to move it to. Though I do need to lament, just for a moment, that the Snorlax of Unbroken Bonds, which still has some of my favourite artwork we've ever seen in the game, is not a psychic Pokemon, because it's got 150 HP and it heals 10 damage between turns. That's 10 after yours, 10 after your opponent's, 10 after yours, 10 after your opponent's, etc. It would be so good if you were able to just put it all on Snorlax and just be healing it off constantly. It would be amazing. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that's not an option. What we really want to do is just do a whole bunch of healing. Now, what is really weird is that Mewtwo and Mew that I mentioned earlier actually has a GX attack that heals all damage from all of your Pokemon, which is kind of cool. That could work. Or you could use something like Muck and Alolan Muck, whereby if you can poison the defending Pokemon, you heal 100 from Muck and Alolan Muck, so you can essentially move 100 over and then heal it straight away with your attack. What you really want is a Psychic Pokemon with an ability that heals damage either from itself or from your other Pokemon. And unfortunately, I've got to break it to you that in the format at the moment, such a Pokemon doesn't exist. We need something like a Blissey Prime or a Snorlax that is a Psychic type. But you've still got stuff like Champions Festival, you've still got stuff like Super Scoop Up. Again, if we had Ace Roller, that would be amazing right now, but we don't. But this is going to be really, really good. The other thing, of course, if you've got Pokemon that do more damage depending on how much damage is on them, then this will work beautifully, pile damage on and smash. And we do actually have one that is a Psychic type. Now, it's not amazing, don't get too excited, but we've got that Dawnwings Necrozma that came out twice, both times as a promo. And for one Psychic Energy, you do 20 damage plus 20 more for each damage on this Pokemon if you've got exactly 6 prizes remaining. But it means in the early game, if your opponent isn't actually getting a KO on you, then what you can do is take all the damage they do in the early game, move it all over to Ultra Necrozma, and then use that to take your first prize. That could be a lot of fun. Now, there is an attack on Gengar, but don't get excited. 2 Psychic, 1 Colorless Energy, 90 damage plus Sleep. It's not good enough. Not for free energy. No, not loving it, not excited. I'm not even going to mention that Malamar can put the energy on there because Malamar's a stage 1, Gengar's a stage 2, and this is too expensive. It's fine as an emergency attack. If you're playing Gengar anyway and you don't have any other way to attack, fine. I mean, it's nominally better than Malamar's attack, 30 more plus Sleep. So if it's Malamar or Gengar, fine, attack with Gengar. We're playing this for the ability. And it's a great ability, and it's the kind of ability that can lead to some truly broken decks. Let's give it 4 wussies. I've been giving that a lot lately, I'm sorry. It's how I genuinely feel. The fact of the matter is, this might see no play whatsoever, or it might break the format, and it is really going to depend on the kind of cards we have revealed in the future. Frankly, I can't wait. But I'd like to know what you think about Gengar, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games and they don't have Pokemon in, and we're totally fine with it. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.